Welcome, everyone, to the MMA Happy Hour podcast. I am Kyle Anthony, your host, where today we are talking UFC Vegas 101, the first event of 2025. We've got Amanda Ribas versus Mackenzie Dern. We're going to be breaking down 4 plays here on the show like we always do. And it's 2025, the UFC 2025 betting season has arrived, and I'm glad. It was nice. It was nice. The holidays, I hope everybody had a great holiday, great New Year's, a lot of positive energy heading into 2025. And I feel great. I feel rejuvenated, and I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go here. So if you want to become a client, link down in the description. I already have a play up for clients. And last year, we profited 76 units of profit for clients last year, 19% ROI, just really a great year for us. And we're looking to repeat that. I do have up right now, if you want to become a client for the year, already putting up a little discount there. So click the link, check it out, and you'll see the code down there as well. But with that being said here, let's just dive into the main event of the evening between Amanda Ribas and Mackenzie Dern. Now, we've got Amanda sitting around the minus 200 mark. On the other side here, we've got Mackenzie Dern plus 162. Now, this is a rematch from their fight back in 2019, which was really a match where Ribas was able to go out there and really kind of control the action, was able to land nice shots, got some takedowns. And even with that, it really showed that she's confident, confident going out there, getting the takedowns, taking the fight to the ground with Dern, which many people do not want to do. And I thought it was impressive for her overall. But this is a spot here where now you've got Dern, where the thing with Dern, and everybody's going to talk about it, is her takedown ability. She just doesn't have the wrestling. Her grappling is there, high level, one of the better ones in the women's division, but with a 16% takedown success rate, not that great. She averages 0.88 takedowns per 15 minutes. So really it's going to be her opponent who's been able to, either take her down or she's able to latch onto something in some crazy way. But with that being said, overall, when going back and just looking at Dern, I just don't really see, elevation. I don't see improvements, and it's hard to say that, but you really just don't see much when it comes to it, and you're looking at her striking ability. I mean, just very sloppy on the feet. Her striking defense is lackluster. She's going to come forward. She's going to take a lot of shots, and she's willing to do it. Yes, she probably throws harder than Ribas, and in the pocket, there could be some moments where, Dern, who's, again, willing to bully forward, willing to throw the big shots, willing to stand in the pocket. But the more, polished fighter is really Amanda. And I think it's kind of starting to widen. I think at first we saw, Amanda, there's some sloppy striking from her, but she continually just gets better. And the negative striking differential, a big negative striking differential on the Dern side here, I do think that's where Amanda is going to pull away a little bit. Even if this fight, stays on the feet, I think she could land the better shots overall. And the one thing about it, again, we are seeing Amanda continue to elevate, and that's something, again, going back watching tape, it's just hard to see Dern not do it, and you do see Amanda continue to do it overall. And I think her output's going to be there. I think she's got a little bit better footwork overall. We did see her just go 5 rounds. I thought that she looked pretty good overall in those 5 rounds, showing the cardio, showing that ability. And a lot of times, you do see grappler versus grappler in those situations where sometimes it turns into, a glorified kickboxing match. And that can happen here. That absolutely can happen in this particular spot here. But when you're looking really at how this can play out here, is if this does play out on the feet, or if this is a situation where Amanda is looking to take the fight down, I think that Amanda can kind of dictate this pace and kind of really do what she wants to do. If she wants to take this fight to the ground, I think she can do it. I think if she wants to kind of work at range, I think she can do that as well. She's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage. 85% takedown defense rate on her. Again, I think that's really limiting even more opportunity for Dern to really do anything when it comes to the takedowns. And, also you got to add in that Ribas averages 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. And again, she can mix it up a little bit better. Now, where I'm going with this play here is I do like Amanda. I do think that it's going to, kind of play out somewhat similar as the last fight. And the way that I think this goes is the fact that Dern's probably her best quality is probably her toughness. Of course, yes, her high level grappling, but really the toughness, I think, for her really is, she can take the big shots. She's going to keep moving forward. At times it can get ugly, but she can take the big shots. And this is a 5-rounder, but I do think that, there's going to be somewhat competitive moments in there, but I do think that Amanda is going to pull away on the scorecards here and bank the rounds, land the better, crisper shots overall. So when you're looking at this spot here, you've got, Amanda sitting around -200. Amanda to win by points is about a pick 'em, a -105. I like that price. I think it's a very probable outcome here. We've only had Dern. She was finished once in her career. That was against Jessica Andrade, who was dropping absolute bombs on her. I don't think that Amanda's going to have that. So I do like Amanda Ribas by points, -105. The next one here we're going to talk about is going to be Roman Kopylov -260. And the comeback here, we've got Chris Curtis +210. Now, this is a spot here where you've got kickboxer and Roman Kopylov, who is starting to add wrestling to his game. And on the other side here, you've got Chris Curtis, UFC vet, and really a guy who just has some solid boxing overall. But, the one thing here when first looking at this is that I was kind of surprised a little bit about where this line's sitting here. Now, I do understand you've got Curtis, 37 years old. Not that, that definitely doesn't look good, but you're also looking at the other side here. You got Kopylov, who is on a nice 5-1 run, and that also is going to start to elevate the odds a little bit here. But when you go back again and you rewatch some of this stuff here, the 5 wins that he had was not that impressive. The guys that he beat was not that impressive. And you go back real quickly, you got Alessio Di Chirico, 1-5 in the UFC, cut from the organization. He beat Puna Seriano, who was on a 2-4 run. He beat Claudio Ribeiro, who's 1-3 in the UFC, also cut from the organization. Josh Fremd, who's 2-4 in the UFC and probably should be cut from the organization. And then most recently, he beat Cesar Almeida. Now, this is the fight here. I was at this fight, and I actually did make Kopylov a 5% play in that particular spot. And the biggest reason is that I really thought he was going to wrestle. That was just in my write-up. If you go back and you read it, in my write-up was, I just think that, yes, Kopylov is predominantly kickboxer, but I do think he is going to sell out for the takedowns. And I think we've seen that Almeida really, is a fish out of water when he's on the ground. And he was able to do that. But not only was he just able to do that against Almeida, that was kind of his saving grace, was able to get some takedowns because, he pretty much laid and prayed for most of that fight. And yes, I loved it. I was actually at that fight cheering him on, but I've never loved to lay and pray more in my life. But in this particular situation, you're looking at it, I don't think it really showed much from him. Now you look at Chris Curtis on their side here. Now he's had, mixed results, of course, but he has faced way high level guys overall. Even most recently against Brandon Allen, this is a fight was probably like 2-2 going to the 5th round, and he ends up losing. He ended up blowing out his, I think it was his hamstring. And yes, that doesn't look good overall, but a tough fight against Brandon Allen, a guy who can really mix it up, strong on the ground, continues to get better. And then also he fought, Nasruddin Imavov, Joaquin Buckley, Jack Hermanson, Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, these guys are worlds apart from Alessio Di Chirico. So, yes, he's beating these guys, but they're also much, much lower level when you're talking about Kopylov. And really the keys to victory here for Curtis is going to be he has to look forward and stay in boxing range. And I do think that's what he's going to do. I do think he's going to look to move forward. We're going to be the apex cage. It's going to be less room for Kopylov to really work, his striking, work his kickboxing. You want to smother the kicker, get in front of him, stay in tight. And I think that's really what Curtis is going to do. He's a great counter striker, really able to kind of roll with the shots, land some nice counter strikes back. And I think that's what he's going to be able to do to land and out volume Kopylov. And also the fact that if Roman's going to look to, utilize some of that wrestling and try to look for takedowns. Curtis is not a guy that's easily taken down. You look at his, statistically, I think he's like 85% takedown defense rate. I don't see Roman having much success at all with that. And if that's going to happen, I do think that means that things aren't going well for Roman on the feet. And that means that Curtis is landing the better shots. And, you even look at it further is, I just think that Curtis needs to keep Roman working, keep him working, keep landing the shots, grind on him, maybe look for takedowns of his own and really mix it up. Because another big thing that I thought was a red flag on the Kopylov side is his output and everything really starts to tilt down after that first round. he can be sharp and he can land some nice shots, but really you see just his cardio, his footwork, his volume, everything starts to go down. And I think that's really where a guy like Curtis, who does have the gas tank, who can go, 5 rounds and can push the pace, maybe a little, at times he can be a little stale and maybe not throwing enough shots. And I do get that part. But I think the volume's going to be there. I think that he can stay in his space. And as this fight goes on, I think he's going to land at better shots. And now you're looking at a guy in Roman who's, minus 260. I just don't get it. I do agree. Yes, Roman should be the favorite here, but I think this line is very wide here. And I've got to be taking Chris Curtis here. Plus 210. Give me that plus money. Next, we're going to be talking about is going to be Austin Bashi minus 300 against Christian Rodriguez plus 240. Now, this is a fight here. We've got the hype. We got the hype behind Bashi here. 13-0, 23 years old, has some hype behind him coming into the UFC. And then you've got Christian Rodriguez, who is, really a well-rounded fighter overall, but who has been a prospect killer. And back to back times, he goes out there and stops guys, or doesn't stop, but beats guys that had undefeated. UFC was looking to kind of hype him up. And this is kind of very similar to the same type of situation here. And, he was able to go out there and beat Raul Rosas Jr., Cameron Simone, Isaac Dalgarian, which, yes, the Dalgarian fight was close. Either way, got his hand raised. And that, to me, it's a tough situation here, when you're looking at this, because one thing that C-Rod brings to the table is he is comfortable in these wrestling scrambles. He's comfortable on the ground. He's comfortable when it comes to all of that. He's very patient. Even there was particular situations against who is it, Raul Rosas Jr., even against Rosas Jr., he was in some bad spots early and was able to kind of, weather the early storm, get through it. And as the fight kept going on, he's got the cardio to keep pushing. He's got the ability to continually scramble. And that's one of his best qualities, really, is his scrambling ability. Yes, he can latch in and he's got some great grappling credentials, but his scrambling ability is really sensational. He keeps guys working. Normally a lot of these guys are going to, who, especially early, who are coming into the UFC early, they're used to taking a guy down and kind of keeping him there. They're not really used to that adversity. Used to kind of, pushing through. And a lot of times they'll get a guy down, they can kind of relax a little bit, they can kind of work their position. A guy like C-Rod is continually moving. He's continually scrambling. He's not just saying, hey, you got me on my back, I'm going to take time here for a minute and think. He is always working, and that starts to drain the cardio of most of these guys. And we have seen it throughout, these prospects that he has beaten. They start to kind of drain themselves, and he starts to find opportunity to find the success here. And once again, on Saturday, he's facing a wrestler in Bashi, and Bashi's the guy who's going to shoot relentless takedowns, who's going to look to push that pace, and it's going to fit right into the strength of C-Rod in this particular spot. Now, he's going to be willing to wrestle. He's going to be willing to grapple. He's willing to push that pace a little bit. And again, I think that C-Rod's going to be very confident and very comfortable in those spots. And also, you got to look at it is that, this is a big step up in competition when you're talking about Bashi. The guy was fighting guys and beating guys, which again, I get it. He's 23 years old. He's not going to be fighting some high-level guys in other organizations, but he's beating guys in other organizations that were losing in other organizations. Last year he beat guys that were with records of 8-4, 9-7, and one was 15-33. Not facing really guys that are going to put up much resistance when you're talking about almost anything. And C-Rod, well-rounded guy, does have some striking, can look to go out there and land some nice shots overall. And this is going to be another situation here where I just think that, has not had to face the struggles, has not had to face the adversity. You've got a guy who thrives in these particular situations here. And also, Bashi, 23 years old, not in his prime. He's very raw. He's very green. And you're starting to see, C-Rod, he's starting to be a guy that's entering his prime. And he's starting to be a guy that really can land, some big shots, mix it up a little bit, look for those takedowns, really control, utilize that ground and pound. And I think that, early, I think Bashi's going to come out like, guns blazing. But this is a spot on a UFC debut, 23 years old, facing a guy who wants to be grappling. I think it's a very bad matchup, kind of a suspect booking, I think, also for Bashi, who 23 years old, undefeated. You think they maybe want to give him a little something much easier, but they're pricing him like he's facing some very easy opponent in C-Rod, and C-Rod has faced very tough opposition to UFC, and Bashi has not faced really anybody. So in this spot here, I gotta go C-Rod here. I gotta go in plus 240. I think this line is very wide. I think that again, Bashi has opportunity to get some control time, and if he can keep that cardio going and really positionally win. But I just don't think he's going to be able to do that here, especially at this number. So it's a dog or pass spot for me. I'm taking Christian Rodriguez to get the job done. And the last one here we're going to talk about, Thiago Moises versus Trey Ogden. Now, in this spot here, we've got Moises minus 190. On the comeback here, we've got Trey Ogden. He's plus 160. Now, to start this breakdown here, yes, I'm going plus money. And yes, I am not high on Thiago Moises. Now, the guy does have grappling. He does have some jujitsu. Striking is pretty good. Throws a nice low kick overall. But for me, it's just a bad matchup, I think, for Moises. I think it's not a good matchup for him when you're looking at it. You got Ogden, who's a guy who is, well-rounded, who's going to be comfortable really anywhere the fight goes. And I think one of the big things and the key to victory really for him is going to be looking for those takedowns, looking for that top control, positionally win. And I think that's really how this fight can really play out here. You've got Moises, who is a guy that when he's taken down, yes, there's going to be a submission threat, of course, from him. He's going to be looking to throw those up. But the other part about it is that times he'll just play on his back. He's fine playing off of his back. He's fine not, really having this sense of urgency to get back up. And I do like the heavy top pressure that Ogden has. I think that's going to really work out well for him here, where he's going to positionally win, get that control time, probably bank some rounds. And he just has great positional awareness, and I don't think that he's going to be able to get subbed in this particular spot here against Moises. I think he's going to be able to really work the control time, bank the rounds, keep on top. And also you just saw, that, Moises can be taken down, but also recently, not only did Ludovic Klein, really beat him up, but also as a kickboxer was able to take Moises down. And I think that's another bad sign here for Moises against Ogden, where the path is going to be there. We've seen, Trey starting to really be a grinder, a guy that's going to get on you, stay in your face, work you up against the cage, dirty box, look for takedowns. Even if he doesn't get the takedown, he just wants you to keep you working, mix it up a little bit. And that really can be an opportunity for him. He averages 2 takedowns per 15 minutes. And I think that's where he's going to go with this fight here. And also the fact that even on the feet, Moises, again, I think he may have some of the crisper combinations overall, but he's a guy that can be hit. He's a guy that can be hit overall. Big negative striking differential. He lands 2.3 significant strikes per minute while absorbing over 4. And that's not good here. I think that the volume and the pace really is going to be favoring Ogden. I think that's where he can go with this spot here. He's going to come forward, dictate the pace, look for the takedowns. And I think he can smother really what Moises can do overall. So this is another spot here where I'm taking the dog. A lot of dogs on this one here. I'm taking the dog here as well. I'm taking Trey Ogden to get the job done plus 160. So there you have it for UFC Vegas 101. If you want to become a client, link down in the description. And we're going to kick this year off with a win, with a dub. I'm feeling great. We got a big card next weekend, and we're rocking and rolling for 2025. Let's cash.